just a reminder that we do have the principles, the mastermind principles, where we're just basically all showing up authentically respecting each other and just being open to what can happen with other people when they're experiencing leveraging the giving and receiving that's going to take place over the next probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So the purpose of this mastermind is to inspire you to become a master of productivity. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen, just so I know. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So what do I mean by a master of productivity? Well, the definition of master is to gain control of or overcome. The definition of productivity is the effectiveness of productive effort, especially in industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of output. Now, as human beings, our daily lives are filled with things to do, whether that be for our own personal life and, with family, friends, with maybe our work, whether it's our own business or we're employed, whatever it might be. So as human beings, our daily lives are filled with things to do that we often believe are important. However, are they truly as important as we believe? And more importantly, are they supporting our desired life? So let's have a deeper look into this topic, and then we're going to open up the discussion to mastermind together. So Lao Tzu said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." So areas of master self-discipline, develop insight, integrity, self-awareness, self-expression, environment, self-love, mentors, and play smart. So these are some areas that you can look at to mastering yourself, especially when we look at self-discipline. We've got there the watch. You can think about your punctuality, how you're showing up. Are you keeping yourself accountable in regards to the hours that you've got in a day? I listen to a lot of personal development, and in particular, especially of late, I've been really diving deeper and deeper into leadership. And a lot of the things that come up is we've all got the same 24 hours a day. I have random audios, nothing's random in life, but I have personal development audios that are just on shuffle. And because I've got a lot of audiobooks, sometimes it's just a chapter that will come up. And one on the way back today was Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold, his book. And in particular, he was talking about the importance of time and how we manage it and the different levels of person as to how they look at the time, not just the day, not just 24 hours. It goes down to minutes, even seconds. And then when you're looking at, for instance, he was speaking about Olympic athletes. They're thinking the 4-year gap between when they've got the Olympics and what they need to do, but they're also thinking, this year I need to achieve this. This is where I need to be, and then breaking it down by month, by week, by day, and making sure that they're mastering in this example, the self-discipline. So there's going to be areas there that resonate with you right now, possibly more so some than others, and that's just something to analyze for yourself and have a look at what is most important. So thoughts on productivity, Tim Ferriss. I know Corey's a fan of Tim Ferriss. Focus on being productive instead of busy. I really like this, and I embrace this one because a lot of us, we often say, "Oh, I'm just so busy." And that can actually be just saying that as an excuse. So I decided to shift my mindset around, I'm not busy anymore, I'm being productive. And what that has actually done for me, it's not for me to say it to somebody else for them to go, "Oh, that sounds good." It's actually for me to look at, is what I'm doing in my day or in the half an hour I might have to do work on my business or whatever it might be. Am I actually producing activities in that? Or am I just basically a hamster on a wheel? Am I just spinning a wheel or throwing the dice and seeing what happens? Or am I actually being productive and getting things done that I know need to be done? So ways to be productive, your own morning routine, plan start. So Jim Rohn in particular said, don't start the day till you finish the day, meaning know what you're going to do in the day. Be ready to get up and go. Don't start the week till you finish the week. Don't start the month till you finish the month. And if you're really able to, don't start the year till you finish the year. But for a lot of us, we go, bloody hell, a year? I'm struggling with just the day. We'll just start at the day. Like that's the best way to start. And once you get into a routine, then you can go to the week, then you can go to the month, and so on. So my phone is pretty much always on silent. So doesn't matter through the night, it's on airplane mode. I make sure that I'm the one in control of when I want to actually communicate with someone rather than them communicating with me, so that I am productive in the time that I have. Setting intentions extremely important for, I believe, everything that we do in life, especially when it involves other people, so that we know what our intention is and we can hopefully communicate that effectively so that they understand, especially as a lot of things tend to be unfortunately misinterpreted or misreceived. So nature breaks, extremely important to take breaks in itself, but certainly nature breaks, even if you've got a bit of grass out the back or out the front of your house, do some grounding, communicate authentically, as I said there. One of the biggest things for me, I've been having quite a lot of conversations with new people who've want to partner up with me lately. And I've just said the only expectation I have in a relationship is transparency in the communication. So if you've received something from me and you're feeling excited about it, or you're feeling the opposite, you're feeling down about it, you're feeling frustrated, just communicate, because my intention might not have been the way that you received it. So really important that we do that. We take time to connect with ourselves and others, especially if we're looking to, like even in this space, connecting with people on the call, communicating together. We're all going to leave the call a better version than when we started. And journal, this is something that I still haven't got into. I do a bit and then I don't do much. So I've heard great things about journaling from others. I tend to overthink things. So not necessarily what I should be writing in there, but I actually get frustrated with my writing. And if I make an error, I have to cross it out. I don't like that. So it's those little things. I've got to learn to let go of that. So I just tend to basically verbalize it. I talk quite often out loud, and Beth's like, "Are you talking to me?" No, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking what's in my head. So thoughts on productivity by the man himself, Jim Rohn, as mentioned earlier. Days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. So make sure you spend each one wisely. So you think about the power of that. That's just such an incredible quote from Jim. Days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. So make sure you spend each one wisely, not just connected to business. Obviously, we're looking at life here as well, our everyday life. So I'm interested to hear from anyone who'd like to start us off around what productivity has been for you recently in either your personal life, your business life, what it is that you've changed or noticed, even in reflection through over the last 10 minutes of me talking or 5 minutes of me talking. What is it that's come up for you around the importance of mastering productivity to help you? Anybody want to kick us off?
I'm happy to kick off. Um, I think for me, with my journal, I've been just writing as you've been talking, and with my journal, I guess I give myself 3 minutes, and whatever comes out in that 3 minutes, that's it. It's done. At the end of the day, and I guess I think about like what went well, what didn't go well, what could I have done better. It's kind of been a reflection. I don't necessarily agree with Jim Rowan's like philosophy. A day spent like the day is the most important. I think we spend too much time doing and not enough time being, and sometimes in the being is where the magic happens. For me, anyway. Like I had a massive week last week, and I've got a massive list of things that I've got going on with Big Emotions Academy relaunch and everything. But it was funny. I went and trained pretty hard this morning, and then I felt really unwell, and I was like, "Oh, this is my body actually saying you're not doing any of this stuff today. You're not going to get passports. You're not going to travel agents. You're not sorting out stuff for the fish tank. You're not. You're just taking a day to watch a movie and to chill for a few hours. So that's So I think for me, it's important to kind of like be in life rather than do in life, because we can get caught up in the busy even in the productive busy, we can get caught up in the busy, because there's an endless, for me, I've got an endless to-do list, right? Like, it's just ongoing. So I guess for me, the way that I'd be productive is, which I did today, but I didn't actually get any of the things done, but that's okay. One of my things was to get on a call with you today. This morning, when I wrote my list, I'm like, oh, Martin's calls tonight, let's create space for that. Because normally I'd be soccer coaching or whatever, but I pushed it out to Tuesday so I could do this today. So I just set 3 things. What are three things that I can do to move the needle in my business today? And once those 3 things are done, then I'm done. Like, I can do more, but I don't have to. Like, I'll give myself permission to go, oh, that took you 2 hours today. Like, and last week I worked, 12 hours a day for 5 days plus 4 hours of travel either way. Like, it's a 90-hour week, right? By the time I add everything up. So I give myself a bit of grace to have time to go, okay, I did 90 hours. Actually, what I need is some time off this week. And Wednesday, I've actually scheduled just as a day of nothing. Like, I'm going to do a breathwork session in the morning. I've scheduled a call with a friend in the US because he's on opposite side of the world. So we're connecting at 6 a.m. Then I'm doing breathwork at 10 a.m. And I'm doing anything after that because I need time to integrate and connect and do that healing stuff, which is all about letting go of stuff that I pick up while I'm facilitating to 600 people. So, yeah, I guess in a long-winded way, that's kind of like all that stuff's important. And I kind of I guess I map that in. And the mapping the stuff in is kind of what I learned from you, right? I just do it a little bit differently. I kind of map big chunks of space for whatever that is, for creation or for catching up or for whatever that looks like, right? Things that are important to my mental health, because I know I can go, but if I do, I'll be no good to anyone, right? Like, Linda will go, you're doing too much at some point. I know I've got 3 weeks of work coming up at the end of February where I'll be away for 3 weeks pretty much straight, just home on weekends, and like, I'll need a couple of weeks after that to reset. So I'm just mindful, I guess, in the theme of productivity, I'm mindful of my own limitations.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I picked up on there, Corey, was you mentioned about, like, in a way, the blocks. This is my language as well, like the blocks of hanging out with friends, the work stuff, family time, things like that. So I think when we think about, especially about productivity, we often attach it to work-related stuff, but really it can be across the board holistically. And how important have you found it for yourself? And this is a question that can obviously be put out, and anyone can chime in as well here. How have you found it important for yourself to make sure that when you're in that state of productivity within work, that you are aware of, hey, I also need time for myself. I need time to catch up with my mates. I need time for my family.
Yeah, I guess when I was on site, like, I thought I need to train every day to just wind down the energy, and I should train and exercise every day. But I've actually made a commitment this year to do like 3 days a week for 52 weeks a year, rather than train for 5, 6, 7 days a week, right? So I've kind of changed my ethos around that a little bit, which comes with age. I'm getting closer to 50 than I am 40. But when I was on site, like one night, Riley went back to high school last week, so he had a lot going on and he wanted to talk. So we chatted for an hour, right? And then by the time I got off the phone, I went and had some food, and then there was no space. I didn't want to wind my nervous system back up, right? I was really wound down. So I just went and took my shoes off and went and walked on the grass and then jumped in the pool and just like really chilled, rather than like winding my nervous system back up again. So I think when I'm busy, that stuff's more important than when I'm not. Like, when I'm not, I have heaps of spaciousness. There's no kind of expectations. Like, I gave Lockie a list this morning. He's like, bro, like, that's too much this week. Like, just come off a massive week. Let's cut back this out of the list, because he also knows I've got stuff going on with Big Emotions Academy, and like, that's just its own its own behemoth of a thing that I'm working on, but also have no expectations around that, right? Like I've kind of got, I guess I've got some longer term goals, which I'm breaking down to like, I just need to get 5 schools to sign up for a trial. So what are the actions that I need to take around that? So, um, but yeah, I think the the rest and recovery stuff, and often I don't plan stuff. Like I message you on a Sunday with no expectations. I'm like, hey bro, if you're free this afternoon, Ryan and I go and go karting. You're welcome to join us. There's no expectations, but it's just like I'm just kind of do these random invites to invite people out to do things. But yeah, I think if I don't do that stuff, if I don't catch up with people, and I don't make time and space for this stuff, then I just kind of think, what's the point? Like if I get to the end of my life and I go, oh, Corey like had a massive impact on a ton of people on mine size, but I've got no friends because I've been busy helping other people, then what's the point? Like I guess I'm really in this season of like intention, right? How am I going to show up and who do I want to be and what does that look like? And being present to that rather than just being, I need to be on site every day of every week forever, you know. Lockie and I are actually looking at how to extract ourselves from that altogether and send other people to do that work. And we become managers of people that do it rather than us doing it. So with it, yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. How do we spend less time on site? And then if someone wants us to site, someone goes, "No, I want you, Corey." I go, "That's cool. That's a 5-figure for the day if you want me for the day, right? Because I'm running a business and I'm doing this, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm losing value from other aspects. So yeah, there's been a real shift in how I look at, I guess, how I look at business in general and how I'm looking at life. I think I don't know. They say you kind of like Rose will know. She's older than all of us, right? They say like you think you know everything at 21, but you know nothing, right? Then you get to 40, and you kind of like think you know everything about everything, and then I think I'm getting to 50. I'm like, I know nothing about nothing, and and that's okay, you know. I think that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Like, how do I have like a well-rounded life rather than just be work, 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 work?
Yeah, thanks for dropping in and sharing that. What's coming up for anybody else? Anything that Corey dropped in with, or anything from what I already shared with you? Mom?
I think, yeah, I think quite a bit came up really for me. You'll have to excuse me. It's early in the morning for me. Well, it's not that early. It's not as early as Ricky is, but yeah, for me it was more being away from everything for 4 months last year. Really changed the way I think about things. Because my life was so different for 4 months. And you kind of, because obviously I was in Oz and I was next to Martin and Beth and with Dave. And it was so special that when I've come back, I've managed to put into boxes now what's important and what isn't in my eyes. And obviously for me at my age, like you said, Corey, I am the oldest. And I used to be a massive, massive, massive gym fanatic. And I got to 60 and it was like somebody turned the tap off. And I found that really, really interesting. But it's happening a lot in other aspects of my life. What was important 10, 15, 20 years ago, the motivation has completely gone. And it's looking at other ways to do things and other ways to keep your mind and your body occupied, and to realize that the things that were important, like Wayne Dyer says about the morning, the afternoon and the evening, what's important in the morning isn't. And I didn't get that for ages. Well, I'm in the evening bit now, you see. I get that what was important in the morning and the afternoon is not important or as important. And I think I'm getting to the point where I'm able to say, yes, I like doing that. so I'll carry on. No, I don't. That stresses me, so I don't want to do that. And I've learned that actually from being away from everything and my life changing for 4 months while we trekked all around Western Australia. But I realized a lot in them 4 months because I didn't always have access to the internet, and I was away from normality, for my normality. And it made me look outside the box. And I actually managed once to actually do this thing where you see yourself from above. And it was quite an emotional time, but it taught me a lot. And I've come back, and like you say, Corey, making time for my friends at one time was stressful because I had so much to do. It isn't now. Everything else I put to one side, and I make time for, especially Dave, my grandchildren, and my friends. And I don't do it out of guilt. I do it because that's where I want to be. And that is the difference now. I don't beat myself up because I haven't done this and I haven't done that. I do it because that is what I choose. And I think as you get older, like you said, Corey, you start to be aware of more things, and you start to be able to look at things in a different light, mainly because your future's a lot less than your past. So every day is special. Every moment is special. And you realize it's not going to happen again. So I think that's what I've learned. It's more productivity to me than to anything else.
Yeah, great share. Thanks, Mum. And that comes bit of experience there. I remember actually being on a job when I was in England, and I would have probably only been 20. And Steve, you'd know him, Mum. The Brickody, can't think of his last name. Kenningley, Steve Kenningley said to me, "Oh, mate, he must have been 55." And he said, "Life passes quick, enjoy it." And it's really interesting how, even though I'm 43, I don't feel 43. I still think I'm 24. And yet I was on a job recently with a young lad who's 24, and apologies for my language, but he referred to me as an old bastard. And I was quite taken by that, because I'm thinking, am I? And then I thought, where have those 19 years gone? And if those 19 years have gone like that, what are the next 19 years going to be like? Which I think, as you've expressed there's the that's been expressed so far, there's these areas of, well, what's important for me in my life right now, which it's going to change throughout based on where we are in our lives. So where does the productivity need to be, the aspect of that? How important is that for us right now? The shifts that have been happening, like even I'm very much black or white. So when I make a decision, I'm going, and there's not really much of a gray area with me, which I am working on improving in that area, but the gray isn't the best. It's all or nothing with me. And stopping traveling, as soon as we made that decision, it was like, right, get rid of the car, get rid of the caravan. That's the decision made, move on. Now I need to find a place to live. And then the moment that we got in here, it's like, okay, I need to do all this. And then as soon as I got my new vehicle, I'm like, okay, I need to deck it out. So it's this constant, like, I know exactly what I want to do. And I have a challenging time, not that I'm aware of the challenge. I have a challenging time slowing down and stopping and making time to do other things, When I'm like, hey, I need to do this and get this completed, that's the only thing I'm focused on. I go to bed thinking about it, waking up the next day, I wake up thinking about it, and there's no room for anything else until I've completed it. And I think that is a great attribute to have. However, there's always a cost to everything. And I think that, like, I remember when you messaged me, Corey, and was like, hey, bro, do you want to come go-karting? And there was a part of me that was like, absolutely, yes, I do. But there was also this other thing of, hang on, you've made this commitment to, I think I was working or I was out somewhere. I can't remember what I was doing. And I'm like, I've got to do this. And I knew it was off the cuff and out the blue, but I'm like, I can't break away from this because I'll only be stressed, even though I'll thoroughly enjoy beating Corey go-karting. I had to throw that in there, mate. Although I thoroughly enjoy the go-karting aspect, I know I'd actually be more stressed about not getting done what I wanted to get done that day. So it was this, like, in a way, sacrifice, but to gain. And I think that's where it's just been, now that the house is sorted, got myself into a rhythm, I can breathe and go, right, what's important? And it's really interesting today because I actually was thinking this. I'm thinking about Corey in particular, who doesn't, you haven't been on for a while, Corey, on these calls, but all of a sudden, Corey's here. So, which I was like, wow, you know, my mate's here. This is fantastic. So and even like with what I was mentioning about listening to one of the chapters of Grant Cardone, and I've been listening to this morning, what did I have on? Richard Branson, Screw It, Let's Do It. One of his chapters talking about his balloon trip. And there's so many messages that are coming that are like right at this time in my life where I'm able to attach them in different areas of my life, of different things that are going on and going, well, hang on, like this has just amplified why this is important, or maybe not as important as I thought it was. And I need time in this other area, which is significant because every single one of us right now, I mean, Ricky could be asleep. The rest of us could be all doing something different. There's always things to do, but then we've all made a decision to make time to be here right now. And the thing that's going to come at the end of it is, what, from a productivity level, what is the lesson we've learned? What have we taken away from this? Or was it just a case of sitting down or lying down and just going, and just spending time with other people who are like-minded to share and have a conversation? That's still productive in whatever it is that we need in that moment. Does this make sense?
It's all language, right? Like productive, unproductive. Like I met with someone about a school. She was a school teacher, and I showed her what I'd created for Big Emotions Academy, and she's like, "Man, this is better than what most school teachers would create. You have unrelenting standards." So this piece of like, when you talk about like on black or white, that's this like attribute of like perfectionism. Like it's got to be done, and if it's not done, then who am I? Like that's the bigger question, right? And I'm very much the same, right? Like I got forced to change. Like I just had, whether you believe in God or not, I believe in God. God just like got a sledgehammer and just like smashed the domino over that knocked all the dominoes over, right? Then I had no choice. I could either like leave them all falling over, or I could choose to start picking them up. And the benefit of picking them up is that I get to choose where I put them. But most people don't ever have that experience. Not that I want people to have that experience, but I'm coming to a realization that my experience is very unique. And we all have different aspects of that, but my particular experience like disintegrated my life in many aspects, you know? Like I was slated to be CEO of a company doing $300 million before that happened because of who I was, right? Driven, perfectionism, yada, 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 all the stuff that goes with that. So we can make a choice. Like on that Sunday, you could have just went, actually, I could finish this job by next Friday, but in my head, I've got to have it done today. So because I've got to have it done today, I don't have any spare time to take. Like, and realistically, it's like from where you were, like you're talking 90 minutes round trip, go karting and back home again, right? Like it might have been 2.5 hours. We might have gone and have coffee somewhere maybe afterwards, you know. So just in that example, and I was like, and I actually sat with that, and I'm like, I could lean into him on this, but I'm not going to. At some point, we'll have a conversation about it when it's appropriate. I didn't think it'd be on a group call, but anyway, here we are. Um, so I have this layer of perfectionism, right? Like I want to be perfect. I want to do well at things, and like it's funny. And then when I get pulled up on it, when I get pulled up on something I've done, and I think it's wrong, I disintegrate. So there's like a thread there to pull apart for me, right? Of like, what is that? Why does that happen? And where does that come from? Like, I kind of know all the answers, but then there's this layer within me that it needs to integrate that, let it go, and I'm booked in to do breathwork on Wednesday, right? To do that. That's a part of the process, you know. So yeah, I can't remember what the question was now, but I think as far as productivity go and perfectionism, like perfectionism doesn't serve us in any way, shape, or form. All it does, it leads to, like, for me, it leads to shame and guilt. Because I should be this and I should be that and I should be this, and should is the first 6 letters in the word shoulder. So when we're shooting ourselves, we carry all this tension up through our shoulders, right? So perfectionism doesn't serve us, and black and white thinking is not necessarily, like, the reality is the world is grey and everything is like shifting and moving, and the only thing that is inevitable is change. And when we get so stuck, I've been listening to this. He's actually only 22 years old, but he's probably one of the smartest people. He's a quantum physicist at 22. Like, he's finished his degree and whatnot. And I listen to him talk and people that he interviews, and he was talking about, like, what is flow state? And flow state is when we're in a position where there's no resistance. So we're just at peace with ourselves, and there's no resistance to any other. And, like, can I get there? I don't know. Like that's kind of like Buddha. That's kind of what Buddha was talking about, right? Can we live in our world, in our day-to-day life, and have zero resistance? You know, so we're just kind of doing the thing that we're called to. We're doing the thing that makes our heart sing. So I guarantee losing to me at go-karts would have made you happier than finishing that work off that day. So I kind of like, where's my heart at, right? Like, I'm literally like, and this is something Lockie's been talking about. He's like, what did you love doing as a kid? And I said, oh, marbles was one thing I loved, and I used to go water skiing a lot. But something I used to love was going roller skating on a Friday night. So I'm just like, I'm going to buy myself a pair of rollerblades, and I'm just going to, like, send out a thing on Facebook to a group of mates and go, hey, who wants to go roller skating on Friday nights? And just, like, be teenagers again, having fun, roller skating, maybe fall over, break an arm, like, whatever. But it's like that's what I'm looking for in my life, right? Where's the joy? My old man talks, like, my old man just turned 70, so I'm super conscious of that as well, right? He's not in the best shape. He just fell over and broke his pelvis. So, like, yeah, so it's not great, right? It's not in his hip socket. It could have been worse, but he's very lucky. It was in his hip socket. Like, his quality of life would deteriorate very quickly, right? So there's some fragility there for us at the moment. And that's really interesting to kind of sit with that, right? Because my dad talks about life. He goes, it's like a toilet roll. He goes, when you're young, you got so many tickets, and they're just coming off slowly. And the older you get, the closer you get to the center, the faster the tickets come off. You know, I really like that analogy. And I think, like, when I think about productivity, I just don't. I'm just not attached to achieving anything. Like, it's not that I don't want to achieve things, like I clearly do, right? I'm like very driven to like create change in the world. And I just did my my gene keys. I'll share it with you later, but bro, when you read it, it's ridiculous. If I had read it 5 years ago, I would have said this is bullshit. But reading it today when I downloaded it, or this week, it was like perfect. You need to have an intention, you need to have an impact in the world. All the things that I'm doing right now is what the gene key said, which is really fascinating for me. But I'm just not attached to anything. I just think that if Big Emotions Academy meant to be a thing, like someone will pick it up and carry it. Like it's this seed that I put in the world, and people know it's important. But I might be the person that carries it, and I'm not attached to that.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of how I live my life, is like unattached. And when we live unattached, we create an opportunity to get back to like zero resistance, right? We can go karting, and then if we don't get that thing done, it's okay. It doesn't mean I'm less than.
Do you think, and wonderfully shared, Corey, thank you. Do you think it's actually the chemical of dopamine that we're searching for? This is for, I'll go over to Rob because you've been quiet, Rob, but do you think it's the chemical of dopamine that we're actually searching for there to go, woo, I finished it, I got it done?
Yeah, I think we're all chasing dopamine, right? But like, how do we get it? You do 5 minutes of the psychological sigh in the morning, like just 2 breaths in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Like, if you do 3 of them, you reset your nervous system. If you do it for 5 minutes, you get a sustained dopamine release for 24 hours off the back of that. So are we chasing dopamine? Yeah, we're chasing them with these, you know. Like, I spoke to Riley on the weekend. I'm like, mate, get off your phone. Like, you just need to take time off. You need to get out. You need to, and that's why I spend $150 go-karting with him on a weekend, right? Just to get him out of the house for 2 hours. I took Blake to Perth Glory on Saturday night, like just off a whim. They were playing at Armadale, like the NPL side. I said, let's go, like, to get him off. I just don't want to spend my life sitting in front of a TV anymore. Like, it's not how I want to. I want to be out and about doing things, you know. Like, I'm probably going to go to Peru in May for 10 days. Like, can I even afford it? Probably not, but it'll be okay. It'll work out, you know. Because if I don't go, then I'll never go, right? So I think for us, we are chasing dopamine all the time because we're programmed to chase it more so now than ever. But this isn't new, right? We've been chasing dopamine forever.
Yeah.
When we were cavemen, we would go, like, when we were cavemen, we'd go climb up the side of a mountain and smash a honey thing off there and get attacked by bees to get the honey. We weren't chasing the honey for the honey. We're chasing the honey for the dopamine here. So blame the cavemen. Like, it's been with us all along, right? It's not new. We just have like an abundance of like inputs that are giving us dopamine, not necessarily from exercise or movement or whatever it is. We're getting it from other sources, which isn't necessarily good for us. And I'm addicted to my phone as much as anyone else. Like, I look at the screen time, like it's 5 hours. Some of it's productive because it's podcasts, some of it's not, you know, but it's a beast, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Anybody else would like to share? Drop in with anything that's been shared or come up. Rob?
Yeah, it's just as soon as that word dopamine came up, I was like, bing. I think you would have seen, Martin, I've taken to doing my ritualistic morning ice bath routine for the last couple of weeks now. I've jumped on that crazy. I was curious. I was like, I want to see what this is about, and decided to, no pun intended, I took the plunge and got myself one. And the first one was really interesting because it's a complete mind game of fear. You know, like, it's only cold water, and that mental block of preventing you from just doing it, and you know, and I did it, and I was like that shocking. And then after a couple of seconds, and I just relax, and I'm sitting there, and I close my eyes, and I just go to a place, and I'll be in there, and then it's like, okay, time's up, 3 minutes, get out, and just kind of, shake it off. And bad or not, placebo or not, I feel much better for it. I'm sleeping better, I'm thinking better, and like the theme of today's call is productivity. My productivity is, just that one shift, one change I've made. I'm I can see where I want to be now. Um, it's always been there. But now I just have a clear path of what I want to do. And yeah, it's a definite dopamine hit for sure. Another thing with my productivity is my wife Sam. She put me onto a podcast many months ago now. Which you've probably all heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, maybe. And he was on a podcast, the podcast called The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. He's one of the dragons on the UK Dragons Den, and she's like, "Here, listen to this," and so I put it on, and I was just, I don't know, I was just drawn to it straight away. So she bought me one of his books for Christmas, and it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and it's basically about how to reset your brain and your thought process. Because like my brain and thought process over the last 18 months has just been completely scrambled. So by doing that, and I'm trying to meditate every day, I've seen a big shift in my productivity for myself. And it comes in full circle. So the productivity of my business is improving, productivity of my mind is improving, just having that clarity now. I was just suffering with massive brain fog, confusion, just overwhelm. Martin, you touched on, like, when you're doing something, you want it all done now. Like, and that's me. I'm a marathon runner that's trying to do a 100-meter sprint. It's never going to work because it's the long game that a marathon runner plays. So, but I have that kind of urge that says I need it now and I want it now, and that's kind of being pushed down the bottom of the pole now because I'm kind of thinking to myself, right, I'll get it, but in order to get it, I just need to put these pieces in a certain order, and it's going to take a little bit longer, but the end result will be 10 times better. And I feel so much better for it, and just the fact that I'm sleeping, like I still have a few nights of just restlessness, but my sleep is much improved. And so I'm going to keep with that kind of these new routines. And I did used to, I remember the last call I was on with Corey, we were talking about journaling. And I was very inconsistent, and Corey said, "There's nothing wrong with being inconsistent with it. It's just if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't." And I still do that from time to time. But yeah, I'm just enjoying the last, I think, just after Christmas, because we went to the Gold Coast for a week as a family, and we hadn't been away really since everything kind of hit the fan, and it was nice to be away, and just there was no real urgency to do work stuff. It was a perfect opportunity to actually kind of just slow down and really reprioritize what's important. So yeah, so my productivity, I always felt I was quite productive. But now I'm just kind of, it probably seems wrong to say it, but by taking a step back and slowing down a bit, my productivity is actually increasing. Because I was that go, impatient, let's get it done. But now by just kind of, suppose going back to looking at myself from the outside, I'm able to actually evaluate things a little bit better. And yeah, so just by making those small changes, I probably should have made them a long time ago, but you can't live in the past. So I'm all about moving forward. And yeah, and yeah, I'm actually probably feeling closer to normal than I have in a long time. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for Sam for actually bringing Joe Dispenza into my life, because there's a lot of what he says resonates well with me, and even some of his meditation stuff. And I listen to the audio. I listen to the audio in the car, and then I read the book at home, but I don't jump ahead in the book. If the audio is ahead, I'll actually read the book, and it'll actually reinforce it back into my brain. Because like, oh yeah, I heard that in the car, and it makes sense because I'm reading it on the words. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, great call. I'm getting a lot from here. And I suppose everybody looks at productivity in different ways. So, and I think people focus too much on the end result instead of. And one of the first things I said on one of the first calls was focus on the journey, not the destination. So, and that's what I think I forgot about that. I let go of that for a while, and I'm getting it back now. It's the destination. It's not the destination. It's the journey that gets you there. So that's what I'm focusing on now, is the journey to get to where I want. And yeah, that's me.
I think that's thanks for sharing. Go on, Mo. Thanks for sharing, Rob.
No, I was just going to say it's ironic because I'm in with another group, and we did a mastermind the other week, and we follow Abraham Hicks, and I've just done this amazing mastermind around manifesting and the gap between manifesting and it arriving. And it's amazing the way he or she brings it over. Well, I found it amazing. And they talk about piles, and as human beings we have piles, but and it's piles of politics, religion, beliefs, and things like that. And we focus that deeply on our own beliefs and our own views, that when somebody says something that isn't what we think in each of that pile, we straight away get defensive. So we stop enjoying the journey of us getting from A to B, because straight away we've become on the defense because somebody said something that doesn't agree with us. And it is about accepting, isn't it? It's about, like they say, enjoy the journey. But the way it was just put over, I never thought of my views as being in piles. And I never thought of it like that. And since I've done this bit of a mastermind, it's really, every time people say something, I think, right, do I agree? Do I not agree? What does it matter? And it's taken me ages to get to this point. And it's funny, like you said, Joe Dispenza with you, something clicks, doesn't it? And it's about being happy no matter where you are, which is not always easy, is it? To be happy and content at the place we are. It's great when everything's going fine, but the minute something you get, slapped back, it's tough. And it's that when you think, oh, I'm not so sure about this, but it's keeping going, isn't it? Believing and being true to yourself, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to see if Ricky, if you're wanting to share anything, or if you're just enjoying relaxing.
Sure, I'll share.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I worked for the Federal Emergency Management Agency for over 20 years, and what I did was basically help disaster victims, people from hurricanes, floods, things like that. The kind of phone calls I got were, oh, I just found a human hand with a wedding ring on it. What do I do with it? Things like that. It was very stressful, but very rewarding because, literally saved lives. And it was all over the phone. And then, but I was on call 24/7. There was mandatory overtime. And I learned that I had to leave because I didn't know who I was anymore. It was all about the job. I was the job. And I got sick. And at 57 years old now, one of the main things I've learned is that, you know, without your health, you don't have anything. And I too enjoy Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza. And I used to think that meditation was a waste of time, but I don't think that way anymore. I used to think that I was very perfectionistic, and I still am to a large degree, but I really work on trying not to be hard on myself if I don't do things, like the go-kart, or like that webinar that I really wanted to see that I didn't have time for because I really needed to sleep or whatever. But it's all a matter of perspective. Living in gratitude is really become more of a main priority in my life, along with the grounding and making sure I get sunshine, going outside, being with, you know, sometimes I literally do hug the tree and it feels good. And so it's interesting because 3 years ago, I was complaining with a friend of mine. Oh, it's Sunday night. I got to go to work in the morning. Oh, Monday. Right. And then I fell off my deck and shattered my ankle. I couldn't walk. They had me in, since then I've had 2 surgeries. They put me in a nursing home because I couldn't walk. It was terrible. I don't complain about Mondays anymore. It's like, that is a super good problem to have, right? And so, you know, now I'm just like, I'm becoming more and more, I can walk now, by the way. And it's wonderful. So, you know, and it's the little things that you don't realize that you have that you can appreciate on a daily basis. To me, that's productivity, in a huge way. And I try not to measure myself by what I don't get done. And I like what the guy said, what you said in the beginning about each day is valuable. I think that's priceless. And you know, I too have gotten to where I don't like watching TV anymore. I'd rather read a book. I'm a big YouTuber. I love that Diary of a CEO, by the way. That his show is awesome. And anyway, I could go on, but thank you for having me. And yeah, productivity, it's productivity. It's a double-edged sword in a way, because I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ricky. And once again, I think it goes back to, like, as you finished and wrapped up the productivity in just taking time out, even if it's for an ice bath or just to have a rest or whatever it is, it's still going to help be productive in other areas, which I think sometimes that ability to recharge and fill our cup in other areas is so important for when we do get to the opportunity to come and do the work. And there's been so much value that's been shared today on the call, which I really want to say thank you to each and every one of you for what I've received from this call, in particular, and also the amount of messages that I've received from the audios that I've been listening to, the messages that I've received on this call have tied in with, especially in particular around when we've been talking about the importance of enjoying the journey. I've been listening a lot to The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, listening to countless audios and interviews of him talking about that over the last couple of weeks. And it really amplifies the difference between the finite game and the infinite game. And we're always playing a finite game in areas of our lives, but the journey is the infinite game. And if we can find the enjoyment in that, and as Corey said, which I think really is an area of mastering life, is this beautiful state of flow or flow state, and letting go of the results and things like that and just enjoying it, then it's amazing how what came up for me was just thinking about an element of my business with having conversations with people and them saying about the results, and what they've heard from other people. And they're like, well, what do you do? And I go, well, I don't actually put that pressure on me. I'm not actually chasing tens to hundreds of sales every month. I'm actually only just looking for 2 or 3 strong key leaders a month. In fact, one to 3. Because I have the capacity to support them. But it also takes the pressure off this go, because there's other areas of my life which are important, in particular, spending time with my wife. Like, that's really important for me right now. And hopefully it will continue to be. But certainly right now, that's a really important part of my life. And I want to make sure that I'm nurturing that because of what I receive from that relationship. So yeah, thank you all we've hit the hour mark. So thank you all for choosing to show up. Truly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you in a fortnight, 2 weeks away. Okay. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.